Hello and welcome back to another episode with Lattice Training. Today we're going to be talking about what I believe is one of the best exercises we can do as rock climbers. This is of course the deadlift. So why is the deadlift such a good exercise? Well, firstly, it's a compound lift, and this means it's moving multiple joint angles and training multiple muscle groups at the same time. The reason compound lifts are so useful for climbers is that it's training strength to a high degree, but also the coordination of moving multiple muscles at the same time. This is one of the main added benefits we get over more isolated exercises, where we're just moving either one joint or using one muscle group at a time. We're also going to get a really high degree of core activation in this exercise, and this is why this is one of my go-to exercises for core training for climbers. So you can get rid of those planks, you can get rid of those crunches. Heavy deadlifts are an absolutely brilliant core exercise. It's going to engage the abdominals, the obliques, the transverse abdominis and the erector spinae. All of these muscles can be loaded up really heavy when we're doing heavy deadlifts in a really strong isometric contraction. So in this way, we can get really high intensity and very easily add progressive overload to this core training. It's of course also going to work the muscles in the legs, in the hips, in the upper and lower back. These muscles make up what we call the posterior chain, and these are the muscles that we're going to be engaging whenever we're trying to hold tension or push hard through our feet in climbing. So if you have trouble keeping your feet on in overhanging terrain, pulling hard on heel hooks, or generating power from small holds, deadlifts might be the perfect exercise for you. Research has shown that doing deadlifts and increasing maximal strength in this lift can improve your ability in vertical jump height. So this is going to be a great exercise for improving your dynos and jumping around on the wall. One argument against the deadlift might be that it's not climbing specific. However, I'm a firm believer that climbers need to become well-rounded athletes before they can spend their time always specializing in a sport. Too much time spent only focusing on climbing specific exercises is kind of a good way to either plateau or find yourself running into injuries. Doing exercises like the deadlift are going to keep you progressing year on year and building a solid foundation for your climbing specific training. Now that I've convinced you that deadlifts need to be a staple in your training diet, let's get into the how to do a deadlift. Firstly, let's cover the stance before we even pick up the bar. We're going to approach the bar and stand roughly shoulder width apart with our feet. We want the bar placed over the midsole of our foot, so this is roughly where you'll tie your laces. This is because when we pick up the bar, we want the bar to travel in a vertical path up and down. At the top of the lift, the bar will hang over the midsole of the foot. This is where our balance point is, so we want the bar to start and finish in the same position. We're then going to reach down and grab the bar. Our hands are going to be on the outside of our shins and our knees will be on the inside of our elbows. From here, we drop the hips, our shins come to the bar and our shoulders will be placed slightly in front of the bar, in line with the armpit. Looking from the side in this position, you should see that in order of height, you have your knees, then your hips, and then your shoulders. From this position, we're going to first engage the back muscles by assuming a neutral spine, so a flat back. We can also engage the mid-back muscles by opening the chest slightly. Before we lift the bar, it's really important we pull the slack out of the bar. This essentially means pulling some tension into the bar before it actually leaves the ground. Doing so is going to mean all of the muscles are engaged that we're about to use when we lift the bar. To engage the lats, you're also going to think about pulling the bar into your shins, and you're going to continue to do this throughout the lift. At the top of the lift, fully extend at the knees and the hips. Squeeze the glutes to get full activation. We don't, however, want to extend at the lower back, so we're not leaning back to get this full extension. There's a few different grip types we can use lifting the bar. For most climbers in general, I'm going to say use an overhand grip with both hands. You'll also see people doing a deadlift with an alternate grip, a hook grip, or using straps. Essentially, you just don't want your grip to be the limiting factor in this lift. The last thing I just want to say, when you start deadlifting, it's really good to get a video from the side just to watch your form back and get that feedback. If you can, and you have a coach in your area that can teach you how to deadlift, I really recommend you do, because the feedback they can give you is going to be so valuable. Okay, so let's cover how often and how much we should be deadlifting. As a general rule, you shouldn't really be lifting more than once to twice a week. This is a strengthening exercise, so somewhere between 5 and 7 days in between it's going to be a really good starting point. If you're a beginner, the amount of weight you should be lifting should be relatively low. You first want to master the skill and the movement of the deadlift before you start adding weight. Also remember, if this is a new exercise to you, a small amount of weight will go a long way and you can still make strength gains from it. You should be working between a range of 8 to 12 repetitions and start really light and build up the weight. What you don't want to do is test your 1 repetition max or see what your PB is before lifting. This is not necessary. Just go off how you feel. If you're a more experienced deadlifter and you're confident with this movement, you can reduce the rep range to somewhere between 5 and 10 repetitions. I'm going to recommend that you don't go much lower than 5 repetitions. Personally, I don't think it's necessary because we're training for climbing, not for weightlifting. Working in those slightly higher rep ranges, we're still going to achieve progressive overload and strength gains. The lower rep ranges, I feel, just aren't worth the risk of injury. Okay, so there we have it. That's my favorite exercise for climbers. Let us know what your favorite exercise is in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.